Hey buddies, welcome to another episode of Scarlet Studies. Today we're talking about whether or not superpowers are actually real. We as a culture cannot get enough of superheroes. Out of the top 30 highest grossing films of all time worldwide, more than half of them are about humans with super abilities. Whether they're classic comic book characters, wizards, Jedis, or even queens, we love watching humans use magical powers. I even get to play one of those kinds of characters in the Super Pops. I play Electra Pop. Electra is a super tech, meaning that she uses her intelligence to design incredibly powerful technology to help the Super Pops defeat the bunglers. And the question I get the most is, do you really have superpowers? And in this episode, I can finally reveal to you the truth. Yes. So wait till the end of this video because I'm going to tell you all about them. But first, let's talk about some other kinds of superpowers. They're actually mutated genes. We all probably have some genetic mutations within us. We just never find out about them because they don't cause any major changes. But for a few superhumans, one little gene mutation can change everything. If I were to ask you to name a superpower you might like to have, what are you most likely to name? Flying, telekinesis, how about super strength? Well, super strength is actually real. A little boy named Liam Hoekstra in Grand Rapids, Michigan was born with a gene mutation. But nobody really knew until at 5 months old he started doing superior, masterful gymnast moves. So his parents took him to a specialist who diagnosed him with a rare condition loosely called myostatin-related muscle hypertrophy. That's definitely not how you pronounce any of those words. There are a lot of different substances in our bodies that determine how muscular we can become, and one of them is a protein called myostatin. Its purpose is actually to limit muscle building abilities. Liam's gene kept him from creating as much myostatin, which means that his muscles can kind of endlessly build. Okay, so why does myostatin want to keep us normal non-superhumans from having big muscles? Wouldn't evolution want humans to get super muscular and strong? Isn't that the whole point? Well, not exactly. Having a lot of muscles is great and all, but it also burns a lot of energy. More muscles equals a higher metabolism. This isn't actually a great idea for most animals because we have to store our energy for times like winter when maybe food isn't as plentiful. Liam has to eat like double what you and I have to eat. There's actually some early research in mice that suggests that blocking myostatin might make your muscles bigger, but it doesn't mean that you grow extra tendons. Tendons are what connect our muscles to our bones. If you don't have enough tendons, or if they're not strong enough, your muscles really aren't worth much. Now, it's not really clear whether or not Liam Hoekstra has any issues with his tendons or not. He's kind of stayed out of the limelight and we don't know much about him. He probably doesn't want to be known as the super strong guy because then everybody'd be asking him to come over to their house and help them move furniture. There's a lot of pressure that comes with being a superhuman. Another superpower you might have heard about is called echolocation. Now, for plenty of animals, like bats for instance, this is just part of who they are. It's not a super ability at all. When a bat flies through the air, it uses its vocal cords to create a series of really high-pitched clicks. Sometimes they emit 200 of these clicks per second. And they emit these clicks because when that sound bounces off of objects and comes back to their little bat ears, they can determine how close they are to things, how big things are. It really paints a picture with sound in their minds, which is great because bats really can't see very well. Actually, dolphins use echolocation too. They use that dolphin sound that you probably know, that like. But there are a few people who have learned how to use echolocation. The most famous of these is a guy named Daniel Kish. He is called a real-life Batman. he went blind. But he didn't want that to stop him from doing things like climbing mountains, riding his bike, or even living in the wilderness all by himself. So he learned a version of echolocation. Actually, all humans have the ability. I mean, you already kind of do a little bit of it every day. Our ears hear in something called stereo sound. If you hear a sound and it's slightly more loud on your right side, then you know the sound is coming from over here. And depending on how close to your ear it sounds, how much it echoes, you're doing a lot of basic echolocation on a normal daily basis. But can you imagine only using echolocation like Daniel? You can definitely test your echolocation in a safe place like your backyard with a little bit of help from your parents or a sibling. Close your eyes, have them walk around with you, make a sound, see if you can tell how close you are to a tree or a wall based on how that sound bounces off that object and gets back to you. Ice powers. Elsa has them, Crystal Pop has them. Wouldn't you like to be able to control the temperature of things? Well, in fact, there is a human who can do that. His name is Wim Hof, and he's a Dutch athlete, also called the Iceman. Wim has been able to withstand incredibly cold temperatures, and it's not 100% clear how he does this. The theory is that Wim actually hyperventilates, which is he takes in excess oxygen, which raises his heart rate. Hyperventilating also releases adrenaline into your body, which naturally warms you up. He's able to swim in freezing cold water. He was also able to climb almost all the way to the top of Mount Everest with no shirt, just shorts and sandals. That's crazy. Most people who climb Mount Everest do so with like layers of duck feather jackets. Sometimes they even have oxygen tanks. But Wim didn't need them. Now, what about rainbow powers? Australian artist Conchetta Antico discovered that she has a very specific gene mutation that allows her to see like 100 times as many colors as you and I. So how is that possible? Everything we see is delivered to our eyes in the form of light waves. Every color has a different wavelength. And as light reflects off of a red or blue object, it bounces back into our eyes, and our eyes read what wavelength that is to tell us what color we're seeing. And all of this happens in a second, less than a second. In order to do this, the retina of your eye must have special color reading cells called cones. Most of us have 3 kinds of cones, which makes us trichromats. But some women, however, have 4 different kinds of cones, making them tetrachromats, thanks to 2 different kinds of mutations on their X chromosomes. And this increases the combination of colors they're able to see by like a whole lot. And it's actually not that rare to be a tetrachromat. There are some studies that suggest up to 47% of women of European descent might be tetrachromats, and we don't even know what that means for the entire world population. So you might be a tetrachromat and not even know it. Conchetta says that she sees violet purple in bushes that we would probably just label green. She sees bright golds and oranges in pebbles. And in general, she says the colors are just more vibrant. Okay, so it's finally time for me to reveal to you my superpowers. And I actually have a little secret for you. You have them too. All humans have superpowers. And here's just 3 of them for you to think about. Your bones are stronger than concrete. Yeah, bones are primarily composed of calcium hydroxylapatite, about 60% of that, and the rest of it is collagen, which means they're super resistant to fractures. Whereas concrete is pretty rigid, it's not hard to break it at all. Number 2, your ears can hear molecules. You don't believe me? There's an experiment you can do at home to test this. Have somebody pour cold water into a glass and then hot water into a glass while you are turned away so you can't see. You, I promise, will be able to tell which one was the cold water and which one was the hot water just based on the way the molecules sound. That's because hot water and cold water molecules move at different speeds. I mean, you probably won't know that that's what you're hearing, but over time, you have subconsciously learned how to read the speed of molecules of water. Crazy! And you're also a super breather. Now, I know we talked about Wim, who can do all that special meditation stuff with his breath, but you have really amazing breath too. And it's all thanks to your amazing lungs. You might think of your lungs as just two small sacs that you breathe into, but in fact, your lungs are filled with lobes and bronchial tubes and something called alveoli. And there are enough of these alveoli in just one of your lungs to cover an entire tennis court. Your lungs, in terms of the area of all the different places that air can go, if they were spread out and measured, would cover 2 tennis courts. Your lungs are amazing. You are amazing. Okay, so I kind of tricked you a little bit. I don't have any superhuman abilities that I know of, but being curious and wanting to learn is probably what I would call my superpower. And it's really not that different from Electra's. So what's your superpower? Your superpower could be that you're a really great listener. Could be that you can jump really high in basketball practice. Maybe you can climb trees super fast. Who knows? Maybe you'll learn a new superpower today. So let me know in the comments what else you'd like to learn about, and I'll see you next time. May the force be with you, and may destiny always be on your side. Bye.